So I pulled up that mortgage with his signature from, 15 years ago.
Okay.
Then pulled up the current deed where Mr. Bob, let's say, is giving the property to Jim. And they were completely different signatures.
Oh, my God.
I then was able to figure out that the notary stamp was stamped by the wife of the caregiver.
Whoa.
So we felt pretty confident at that point that it was a fraudulent deed.
New Mexico, where dreams take flight. In this land of sunshine, our hearts ignite.
Welcome back to Live, Love, New Mexico, the podcast where we explore the people, the process, and the places that make real estate in the land of enchantment one of a kind. I'm Samuel Anderson, marketing director here at the Venturi Realty Group of Real Broker, and each week I get the honor of steering the ship behind the scenes, keeping these things on track and making sure we hit all the topics that you actually care about. So before we dive in, quick reminder, if you're enjoying this podcast, tap the follow or subscribe button wherever you're listening or watching. And if you're looking to buy or sell a home in New Mexico, you can find us at welcomehomeabq.com. So now that we got some housekeeping out of the way, let's take a little look at what our deep dive topic is today. We're actually going to be talking about things that get overlooked but can absolutely make or break a transaction. And that is, we are talking about title and escrow. What is it? Why does it matter? And what can go sideways if you're not paying attention? And to help us break it down, we've got two amazing guests today. First up from the Venturi Realty Group, I've got Sonia here, our second time guest host. Say hello for us.
Hi, everybody.
And joining Sonia is someone who knows the title side like the back of her hand. Please welcome Talia Axelrod from Old Republic Title. Talia, we're so glad to have you here. And before you jump in, why don't you give us a little fun fact about yourself? We'd like to, put you on the spot on this show.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me. Fun fact, actually, I met Sonia a couple months ago now. And when we met, we discovered that we lived like 2 blocks away from each other in LA for years and then didn't meet until we were both here in New Mexico.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Just goes to show you what a small world it is.
Yes.
Very cool. Yeah, Albuquerque gets hit with being a small town, but it turns out it's a pretty small country too when you get down to it. So I'm going to play more of the MC today and leave it for Sonia to drive the bus as far as asking questions. And Sonia, I see you've got some great questions here, but just from my perspective as somebody kind of an outsider, why don't you go ahead and establish what exactly we're talking about? You can say title and escrow, but for someone like me, that kind of flies a little bit over my head. So why don't you let us know what exactly we're talking about there?
Sure. Well, Talia, I guess really what is title and escrow? I mean, that's the main question here. So can you elaborate a little bit on what those are?
Yes. So title and escrow, they kind of get all lumped into the same category. People just say title and they're thinking of title and escrow. In reality, they are 2 separate entities that work together.
Okay.
Title is going to be your title insurance. That's searching the property, producing a commitment. Escrow is who is clearing those requirements on that commitment. We are also the ones that are going to go through the contract. We are going to work up your numbers, your closing statement. We're going to make sure we have what we need to satisfy title.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
So let's get into the why behind this conversation. Let's kick it off with a little real life flavor, and we're going to call this first segment Title Tales. And trust me, there's no shortage of them in this business. So Sonia, why don't you take it away?
Okay, I do like that title, Title Tales. Very cute. Thanks, Sam. So I was wondering, what is a wild or surprising situation that you've dealt with in a transaction, and how did you handle it?
All right. Well, there's a lot of wild ones out there. So not long ago, I received a purchase agreement. And, a lot of times we get a contract. We don't know the behind the scenes, right? We don't know the story of the seller, the buyer. We just going off a contract. Fortunately, this time, the listing agent did call me beforehand to kind of give me some background info. And she let me know that the current owner of the property was a former caregiver of the now deceased owner.
Okay.
Who was deeded the property before the owner passed as a thank you.
Caregiver was deeded the property.
Yes.
Before he passed.
The owner passed.
Got it.
As a thank you for caring for him.
Wow, nice gift.
Yeah, right? As an escrow officer, alarm bells were kind of already starting to go off.
Right.
Sure, it can happen. People do bequeath homes to people as a thank you.
Right.
But kind of antennas start going up at that point, and I just know that I need to pay a little more attention. So fast forward, a few days go by and we get the title commitment in. And my first thought was to examine that deed.
Okay.
That deeded gave the property to the caregiver.
Right.
Upon closer inspection, I compared it to the signature that the former owner signed his mortgage.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
So I pulled up that mortgage with his signature from, 15 years ago.
Okay.
Then pulled up the current deed where Mr. Bob, let's say, is giving the property to Jim, and they were completely different signatures.
Oh my God.
So I'm looking at the notary stamp, and I then was able to figure out that the notary stamp was stamped by the wife of the caregiver.
Whoa.
So automatically, sirens at this point are going off.
Right.
We felt pretty confident at that point that it was a fraudulent deed.
Yeah.
Communication's obviously the most important thing in my job. So as soon as we discovered this, we called the listing agent to let her know what we found. She called the seller, tried to get a hold of the quote-unquote seller,
Right.
and he kind of disappeared.
Wow.
No return calls, no nothing. Needless to say, was a fraudulent deed,
Yeah.
transaction terminated. There's a lot of wild stuff that happens out there, which is why title insurance is so important.
Yeah. Thank goodness you caught that.
Yes.
That could have been a disaster.
Yes.
Wow.
And had it closed, we could have not caught it and it would have closed.
Right.
But then at that point, the buyer has title insurance. So if they then ran into that issue being discovered when they refinanced or sold, that's where your title insurance kicks in.
Got it. Okay. That's why you're the title rock star. Thank you. You caught it. Cool.
Awesome. So that's the kind of stuff that you're not going to learn from a YouTube video. So thank you for covering that, because you answered a lot of questions just with that one story. But that being said, let's move on to our next segment, which we're going to call, well, of course, we have our normal MythBuster segment. And this week, Sonia has tailored those myths to our guest, Talia. And so, Sonia, why don't you take it away with You're right. It is hard to pronounce. We just had a chat about how hard it is to pronounce. Why don't you take it away with Escrow MythBusters? We're clearing up the most common misconceptions buyers and sellers have about how this part of the process actually works. Sonia, you've got the mic.
Okay. So, Talia, why do I need title insurance? You don't need title insurance. Why?
You absolutely need title insurance.
Why do I need title insurance?
All right, let me tell you. So for most people, purchasing a home is going to be the biggest investment you make in your life, right?
Yeah, true.
When you buy a car, you protect it by getting insurance. This is now the biggest investment you've ever made. When you purchase a home, you don't know what's happened to that property prior to you purchasing it. You don't know who owned it. You don't know if the people who owned it and transferred it 20 years ago or 100 years ago did it correctly. And so then now you have the property. You need to protect yourself from everything that's come before it.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And that insurance is going to cover any legal cost or financial risk if a problem should arise.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is title insurance is kind of something that protects you from stuff in the past. So
Right.
do title problems come up in the future?
Title problems can come up in the future. However, your policy, your title insurance doesn't cover what comes in the future. It's from the day that deed is recorded, giving you ownership to infinitely before that.
Okay. So if anything comes up in the future, then the future buyer would then get title insurance for stuff that happened in the past.
Exactly.
Okay, got it. All right, cool. I guess my next question is, okay, so Talia, here's another myth. Title insurance is like car insurance or health insurance, right? It's like a monthly premium that I pay.
No, it's actually probably the only insurance I know of, at least, that you pay a one-time premium. You pay it at closing through your closing cost, and that's it. You never pay again. For as long as you own that property or any of your heirs own the property, you pay nothing.
So I'm not going to get like a monthly email. It's like, you owe $50.
No, here's your setup on auto pay, please.
Exactly. No, I'm not gonna do that.
absolutely
Okay,
not.
awesome. One-time fee. I love it.
Yes.
All right, cool.
That's such a great thing to know, because just as somebody, again, as I always like to mention, I represent the audience who's kind of not really in the real estate game the way that my two experts are here. And so for me, that's definitely an eye-opener. I had no idea. When you hear insurance is just a normal everyday consumer, you think exactly what we're talking about, which is a monthly. So that was a great thing to clear up, because definitely there's people that have no idea that that's the case unless they've already had it. So,
Yeah.
okay, so we're about halfway through the show, so I want to take a quick pause before we jump into the next segment. If you're listening and you found any of our content useful or helpful so far, do us a favor, hit that like button, leave a comment or a question, and share this episode with someone who's in the middle of buying or selling. We're going to have some great content for them. And as always, for listings, local insights, and trusted real estate expertise across New Mexico, visit us online at welcomehomeabq.com or give us a call at 505-448-8888. Now, let's get back to it. Sonia, we've got another segment that I see you have come up with us, and this one is called Red Flags and Pro Tips. So, Sonia, once again, I'm going to let you drive the bus on this one. Take it away.
Okay. So, Talia, what are a few things that you see on title reports that immediately make you pause, immediately make you go,
Get those antennas start going up.
Yeah.
The biggest one, most glaring one, is when I get a title commitment in and I'm looking at the purchase agreement and the sellers listed on the purchase agreement are not the sellers I am showing in title.
Ooh.
Most of the time, it's not anything nefarious. It's not like that caregiver with the fraudulent deed.
Right.
It could be that somebody is now deceased. So the property is now vested in the estate of that person.
Okay.
And so at that point, we will know in our requirements that maybe it still needs to go through probate. Maybe it already went through probate. A personal representative has been appointed. It's just always double checking and making sure the sellers are the actual sellers.
Okay.
Let me think of a couple more. When we're looking at a chain of title, and I'm not sure, do you know what a chain of title is?
I do, but can you explain it to our audience?
Of course. So the chain of title is going to be the history of deeds, right? So we try to go back as far as we can and follow that chain of title, right? If we see a lot of deeds back and forth from the same entities or the same family, different people, but it's, every few months or once a year they're deeding, and that transaction wasn't through a title company, that's going to give us some pause, and we're going to want to pay attention there.
Okay.
Again, it could be something super simple. If a family trust deeded to somebody in the family and it didn't go through a title company, we have no way of verifying that the person that signed that deed had the authority to do so on behalf of the trust.
Okay.
Right.
Got that.
If we see that they were insured through a title company, we feel like we can rely on that title company's due diligence that the right person was signing those deeds.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. And what could buyers or sellers do up front to avoid title delays? Is this one of our questions?
Yeah, I think just communication and transparency.
Yeah.
I think that should be in anything you're doing, right? But especially if you are a party to a transaction, as much information as you can provide up front, the smoother it's going to be.
Right.
Simple things like you're not going to be in town at closing. Let us know a few days before closing that you're not going to be here.
Right.
Or somebody is not able to sign for themselves and needs a power of attorney. Let's get that all ironed out in the beginning.
Yeah, and those are a few things you can do ahead of time to avoid any delays, and that would be communicating with your realtor and us communicating with you.
Exactly.
Okay, just as long as everyone's in communication and you have a little bit ahead, leeway or time, then you can get everything
Exactly
where it's supposed to be.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. So actually just piggybacking off of that with the red flags and pro tips, I'd kind of just like to throw in a question out there, and I didn't warn you about this, but it just kind of popped into my head.
Thanks, Sam.
If you
Appreciate
could
that.
we're going to test the real expertise
All
here.
right.
If you had a first time buyer, what's the one tip that you would give them when they're first starting this, so that obviously you find red flags after the fact, but what's the one thing that you can recommend to them so that it's smooth as possible from the start?
I think that's such a good question because it sounds super simple, but if you are a buyer and you have a seller that wants to sell their house to you and they tell you, we're not using realtors and we don't need to go through a title company. So if they are trying to avoid going through a title company, that gives me red flags immediately.
Yeah.
And not wanting to use realtors, I understand not everybody does. I have had sellers that are for sale by owners that encourage buyers not to get their own realtor. And that would be a huge red flag to me. You
Yeah.
want to have as much information, you want to be protected, and you want the best experts in your corner guiding you through this process.
Yeah, I agree. You really do need experts and people who know contracts, and because even myself as a realtor, I still sometimes need help with contracts.
Right.
And I ask my team, so it's really about getting good representation and good
Yes.
information.
Yes.
Yeah, and protecting yourself,
Yeah.
like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Biggest investment you're going to make in your life.
Yeah.
You want the best of the best around you to help you.
Absolutely.
And that's probably the best thing to make clear, which is that as much as these things seem like red flag or red tape and paperwork, it actually really is important. And so it's great that we're kind of clearing up why it's important, because when you see it's required, you say, okay, that's required, but you don't necessarily understand what it's providing for you. So it's great that we're kind of breaking that down for people. So that being said, let's move on to our next segment. So around here at the Venturi Realty Group, we love data. So Sonia, you know that. And I know Sonia has a great question lined up that ties into that perfectly, because we are the market experts here with Tracy and Tigo on their podcast, Albuquerque Real Estate Pod, every Tuesday. A little cheap plug in there for them. So Sonia, go ahead and take it away and talk to Talia a little bit about some marketing data.
So I just want to thank you, Talia, because you have made a whole routine out of sharing title and market data with us with your monthly emails. And why do you think that kind of information is so important for buyers and sellers?
Because knowledge, I truly believe that knowledge is power.
Yeah.
And I think as much data and information we give to you guys to then pass on to your buyers, your sellers, is just going to empower them in the process. And it also helps set up a more smooth transaction, because when you have data, you understand the market trends a little better.
Right.
It can help you with leveraging negotiations. It can help your sellers know what to expect in terms of pricing or repairs, closing cost. I just think knowledge is power, and no matter what you're consuming out there in the world, the more information you have,
Yeah.
the better of a position you're going to be in.
I completely agree, because I really do feel like those monthly emails really empower me to share information with my buyers and sellers. And sometimes they'll throw me a question, and I'll be like, oh, what is the answer to that? Oh, yeah, I remember that from that
Yes.
market data that Talia sent me.
That's awesome.
So I do appreciate that. So
Of
thank
course.
you.
That was awesome. Short and sweet, just like we like it here on the show. We leave all of the minutia and the details for Tigo. He likes to jump into the weeds on all that stuff.
He
so-
goes the master
Yes,
at that
he
for
does.
sure. Yeah.
All right, before we wrap things up, but let's shift a little bit of gears and have some fun. We're going to do a little small game, how we like to keep it so semi-competitive here with the games. If you guys want to keep points, you guys can feel free to. But for the most part, we're
Talia's
just
got
going to
all
throw
these
them out
answers. I know
to
nothing.
Talia and expect
Yeah.
her to. So no points, no prizes, just some fun facts that may or may not surprise you. So, Talia, what year was the first title insurance company founded?
It was 1853. I don't know the name of it, but I know it was in Pennsylvania.
Nice.
That's good.
1853, wow.
Wow. Long time, right?
150, 175.
Don't make me math.
Yeah.
Don't make me math.
Yeah, 172
72, wow.
years.
There you go.
Nice.
And she can do math.
I can do.
Come on.
And she can do best. See,
Hope it was correct.
multi-talented. Well, at the very least, we know the year is correct.
Yes,
so.
Yes.
we do.
Okay, so the next one I'm going to cover, since we already kind of talked about how insurance is not a monthly payment, so we don't have to ask you if true or false on that. We already know that that's false.
Okay.
So let's move on to the next one. What's one thing people assume title covers, but it doesn't?
People assume your title insurance covers anything that happens after you purchase the property, right? But like we talked about, it's everything that's come before. So you buy the property and 5 years later, your neighbor puts up a fence that's encroaching or something strange happens, somebody takes out a mortgage against the house that wasn't you, your title insurance is not going to cover that because it's in the future.
Okay.
Gotcha. Okay, and our final little bonus question of the day. How many signatures on average does it take to close a real estate deal?
Are
Oh,
you
boy.
are you starting from like when I
sign
go
that
under
listing
they
agreement.
Oh,
Or your
my
buyer
gosh.
broker agreement. Let's start there.
I am going to say just on my part, I'm going to say maybe between 50 and 75.
Just on the real
signatures?
estate forms?
Just on the real estate forms.
Yeah. Think about
Because you got
property
inspection and
disclosures
property
and-
disclosures and all of those things. So by
Yeah.
the time I'm done with those signatures and it goes to you, what are you thinking? How many signatures?
I would say after closing then for a seller, maybe 100.
Whoa.
And for a buyer, probably more like 150.
Good thing we have digital signatures.
Yes, DocuSign.
DocuSign.
And I will tell you that those numbers are pretty spot on. Of course, they're averages, so you could have sometimes when there's a lot more and sometimes when there's like 2 less.
Right.
Alrighty, so that pretty much wraps up our show today, except for the last little bit of fun that we have in store for everybody. We always like to be the guides here on Live Love New Mexico, and so we're going to go ahead and we're not going to let our guests leave without giving people what they really want. We're not ever going to let you leave.
We're trapped.
Wait a minute.
You're
the
never
walls are
leaving.
closing.
She's going to find a spot on the wall back there. It's time for Around the 505. And today I want to know, where are you sending everybody for a good breakfast this week?
Okay. I really like this place called The Pharmacy. And it's not spelled the way you think it is. It's actually Farmacy. It's on Central, and they have really great breakfast. And I really like their Eggs Benedict. So that's where I'm probably going for some breakfast.
Yum.
Yep. Did I
Keep
throw
it
you
in-
off
no,
that breakfast? Okay,
let's keep
cool.
it on the breakfast train.
Okay, cool.
I actually went this last week to the new Brekkie in Rio Rancho, their
I've
new
heard
Rio
about
Rancho
that.
location, and it is amazing. Really, really good. I had chocolate chip pancakes there.
Yum.
Delicious.
Sounds good.
That sounds pretty amazing. And for me, I, of course, like to go a little bit local, and I absolutely love the breakfast burritos from Blake's Slaughterburger. And I feel like if you're going to get one on the go, you not only are you going to get a great tasting burrito, but they're huge. And so that's, of course, why we love them here. So
Yeah.
some great places to go to eat some breakfast. Yeah, great. Great job, everyone. That's going to wrap up this episode of Live, Love, New Mexico. Big thanks to Sonia and, of course, Talia Axelrod from Old Republic Title for sharing her expertise today.
Thank you.
Nice. Little high fives and handshakes all around. Talia, how can people get a hold of you if they need to? Go ahead and look right into this camera right here.
Okay, like my phone number, email address?
Yeah,
Okay.
phone number, contact information.
Okay. People can find me at Old Republic Title at our Rio Rancho office. My phone number is 505-994-6656.
Awesome. And Sonia, of course, if anybody would like to work with you, go ahead and tell them right in their camera right there how they can get a hold of you.
Sure. Sonya Kalvert, Venturi Realty Group, a real broker, and my number is 505-207-0082.
And she didn't throw it in that time, but she likes to remind you that's Sonya Kalvert with a K.
Oh, that's right. Sonya Kalvert with a K. That's right.
Awesome. Well, that is a wrap. Thank you both for taking the time out of your day to talk to us. That was a great episode. And for you watching at home, for you listening at home, if you get value out of this episode, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, share, and leave a comment. Or help us drive the next episode and leave a question about a topic you'd like for us to cover in the future. And if you're looking for real estate advice, expert guidance, or just to explore what's possible here in New Mexico, you'll find everything you need at welcomehomeabq.com. That's our home base, and hopefully yours soon too. And don't forget, you can catch our flagship show, Albuquerque Real Estate Pod, every week on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. That's every Tuesday morning at 6 a.m. Mountain Time. So until then, live well, love where you are, and we'll see you around New Mexico.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for watching the video all the way to the end. We appreciate you. And please click subscribe. We'll keep you updated on what's going on with real estate in the Albuquerque area and New Mexico, and of course, across the entire country. Have a great one.